Here are the pros and cons of living in Roswell, Georgia. One of the biggest pros of living here, and one of the things that brings so many people to this city, is that it is a very family-friendly kind of city. There is little to no crime in Roswell, especially compared to other suburbs of Metro Atlanta. This is a very safe suburb. Many families live here for many of the reasons that we're going to talk about in this video, but one of the biggest things that makes this city so unique is that it's so close to the city of Atlanta. When we talk about suburbs of Metro Atlanta and we talk about these kinds of safe, family-friendly suburbs, we're typically talking about something that is about an hour away from Atlanta. And this makes it kind of difficult, especially if you are living in one of those suburbs and working in Atlanta. That's a very long commute, or if you need to go to the city of Atlanta for something regularly, this can be a bit of a challenge with that distance. But because Roswell is so close to Atlanta and it's one of these safe, family-friendly suburbs, this is one of the reasons why so many people move to this city. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living. We put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs of Atlanta. We talk about the homes and the community. We talk about the lifestyle in these suburbs, and Roswell is definitely one of the best ones in all of Metro Atlanta. There are some pros to living here, but there are some downsides as well. Like any city, there's also going to be some downsides. So let's talk about both the pros and the cons. Another big benefit and pro of living in Roswell is its downtown area. This is such a great downtown or city center that Roswell has. It has a lot of this kind of historic feel to it, this kind of historic charm that has been preserved, and you can certainly feel that when you are just walking up and down the street there in downtown Roswell. There's many great restaurants there, also lots of good shopping there along the main street there in downtown Roswell. And so one of my favorites is Roswell Provisions. They have a great coffee and like breakfast vibe there at that Roswell Provisions. But there are a lot of these kinds of restaurants. Mexican food, we have tacos there, we have sushi as well in downtown Roswell. So lots of great options in that downtown area. But besides the shopping and the restaurants, it's also a great part of town just to like go for a stroll or check out the area to get a good feel for what it's like in Roswell. This is the area that I would suggest checking out and kind of like visiting to see what it's like here in this city. The third pro of living in Roswell is the fact that there is so much green space. And so not only is this close to Atlanta, great downtown area, family-friendly kind of feel, but you also have a lot of parks and a lot of outdoor recreation kind of areas. One of my favorites is anything along the Chattahoochee River. The southern border of Roswell is the Chattahoochee River, and if you plan on moving to Roswell, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Even if you just have a question about what it's like to live here, thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. I'm a local real estate agent here in Georgia, and I'd be happy to help with your moving needs to Roswell or any of the suburbs around Metro Atlanta. But that southern border of Roswell, right along the Chattahoochee River, has lots of outdoor activities, playgrounds for the kids. There's like a hiking, walking, jogging trail along the river. There's also points for you to get into the river, like take your kayak out there or fishing there on the Chattahoochee River. So definitely lots of things to do outdoors along the Chattahoochee River. Another one of my favorites is Lada Thompson. There is a park there with lots of hiking trails. It's not along the river, but it is like within the city limits of Roswell. And then also, speaking of within the city limits of Roswell, about 5 minutes, maybe a mile, if that, from downtown Roswell is Vickery Creek Falls. And so it's a short little, not even hike, it's just a little walk in the woods to one of the waterfalls where there used to be a mill right there near downtown Roswell. So this is the kind of city that we're talking about. It's one of these older cities that was really built in the woods and in nature. And so you have a lot of that kind of suburban feel, but also that green space kind of intermingled together. This really well describes the city of Roswell. And then certainly another pro of living in this city is its community feel. The people who live in Roswell Roswell love the city of Roswell. I live about 10 minutes from downtown Roswell, and that's certainly something that you see in many of the residents of this city. They take a lot of pride for their city. They're always making sure that they are keeping up the cleanness of the city, the safety of the city. And when you have a city like Roswell where the residents do such a great job of keeping up the city, it really goes a long way. It helps with things like home values. It helps with things like safety and also the appearance of the city in general. It just is such a good aspect of living in Roswell. The people there are very friendly, and so that kind of community feel that you find in Roswell is definitely a big highlight of living there. However, there are definitely some downsides to living in Roswell. And so if you're thinking about moving here, we don't want to just talk about the good. We want to make sure that you have a balanced understanding of this city. And so let's talk about some of these downsides of living in Roswell, because some of these are deal breakers that really could make it very difficult for you to live here. So let's talk about these. The first one is going to be the amount of traffic that you find here in Roswell. Because it's so close to the city of Atlanta, you also have a very populated city, a populated area. And so this is definitely going to come with a lot of traffic. The main way that people get from Roswell to the city of Atlanta is either using Highway 400 or Highway 9. And these two roads are kind of parallel to each other. And so you just plug it into the GPS. And if Highway 9 is super busy, lots of traffic, then maybe you use Highway 400 or vice versa. But the truth is that during the weekdays on rush hour, they're both very busy with lots of traffic. And so the commute from Roswell to Atlanta when it's not rush hour traffic to maybe like Midtown would probably be something like 30 to 45 minutes. But when there is rush hour traffic, you're looking at least an hour commute. And so a very big difference from Roswell to Midtown Atlanta because of the traffic. Another downside of living here is the cost of living. With any suburb that is close in proximity to Atlanta, you tend to have homes that are very much higher priced than the suburbs that are farther away from Atlanta. And so there's that kind of direct correlation going on here in Roswell. You may be only 30 to 45 minutes from Midtown Atlanta, but you're going to pay $800,000 or $900,000 for a 1980s or 1990s home. And so this is certainly something to think about. If you really need to be in Roswell to be close to work, or you need to be close to family, then maybe that's a great trade-off for that reason. But if you can live in any part of Metro Atlanta, the cost of living, you can certainly find lower cost of living suburbs than Roswell. Another part of being so close to the city of Atlanta is the infrastructure. When it comes to these suburbs like Roswell that were developed a lot longer ago than the farther out suburbs, you have infrastructure that was developed a lot longer ago. I don't know when like the majority of the infrastructure was built in Roswell, but I imagine it was sometime during the 70s to 90s. During that 20-year time span is when we see a lot of homes that were built during that 20-year time span. So I imagine a lot of the infrastructure was also built during that 20-year time span. And so this is now 30 to 40 years ago, and you are still dealing with 30 to 40-year-old infrastructure in Roswell. Roads that have potholes or power lines that are above ground that look like they're about to fall over and that do fall over during storms. I mean, just the slightest storm will knock over the power lines in that city. Now, they do have high-speed internet. This is not something that is like, they're not dealing with like AOL internet. They do have high-speed internet there, but so in general, the infrastructure though is a bit dated, actually very dated. And then another con of living in Roswell is the income disparity that you see in a couple different parts of the city. Maybe some of like the southern parts of Roswell, you have some kind of lower income homes, and then the northern part of Roswell, or like far west Roswell off of like Holcomb Bridge Road, you also have some of the more expensive homes. And so that income disparity seems to be a bit more present in Roswell than some of the other suburbs of Metro Atlanta. And then another quick point about the schools in Roswell. When it comes to the public schools, I didn't really know where to put this in the pro or the con. It's just kind of right in the middle. I would say the schools in Roswell are just kind of medium. They're not terrible by any means, but they're not like Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Marietta, Swanee, 9 out of 10. They're not like that. They are more kind of in the middle, 7 out of 10. Maybe some of those schools are an 8 out of 10. In fact, Roswell High School, according to greatschools.org, is a 7 out of 10. So, kind of iffy there. But whether or not you live in Roswell, one of the biggest factors is going to be how it feels to you, the vibe that you get from the city of Roswell. So I've made an entire video where I went on a walking tour of downtown Roswell. You can check it out right here. I'll see you in the next one.